The Republican Supreme Court justices have not yet decided whether to create, for the first time in U.S. history, a presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for an act or acts committed while president when the charges are filed after the term ends, and whether to rewrite a criminal statute relating to the obstruction of an official proceeding to protect Trump and several of his supporters who have been convicted already or charged with violating that statute. Both decisions may be just days away, either tomorrow, June 28th, or early next week. The other case that I referenced in the preceding comment involving obstruction of an official proceeding is called Fisher, and that proceeding was the congressional session on January 6th that was disrupted by the mob who attacked the Capitol. This decision is also very important in the Trump criminal insurrection case. Oral argument was held before the Supreme Court on April 16th. I discussed that case in a prior video, which I will link in the More section below. I will discuss the decision after it's released and how it impacts the Trump criminal case pending in the District of Columbia. I suspect that the Supreme Court justices, the Republican ones, will decide to protect Trump in both cases, at least to some meaningful degree, but that is not yet certain one way or the other. The Republican justices have, in effect, given Trump immunity from criminal prosecution for the insurrection case by causing a delay in the trial until after the election, and that will end up resulting in a permanent immunity for Trump if he wins. And the reason for that is simple. He will cause his attorney general to fire the special prosecutor. The statute of limitations will expire and the case will never be tried. And that may be the desired result. It's hard to say. And the Republican judge in the documents case, Aileen Cannon, is slow walking the documents case in a manner that I've never seen anywhere in any case. And the result will be that the case cannot be tried before the election. And again, if Trump wins, he will have his attorney general dismiss the documents case, and that will be the end of that. If there had been another judge other than Aileen Cannon, either a Republican or a Democrat, I believe that that case would have already been tried and a jury verdict would have already been reached. It's relatively simple criminal case that she is basically delayed for no good reason, in my opinion. Whenever someone discusses January 6th in a YouTube video, YouTube will place a blue banner that anyone can click that will take you to a very detailed Wikipedia article on the Republican assault on the nation's capital on January 6th. I've yet to see any comment left by a Trump voter to a YouTube video that indicates that they have reviewed and digested that kind of article that contains facts about what happened that day and what led up to the insurrection. I'm not going to reiterate here the facts that can be read and found there, which has abundant references and links for further study to anyone interested in facts about what happened and why. If the Republican Trump supporters have rebuttal evidence to any fact that's mentioned in there that would be admissible in a court of law, in other words, real evidence that contradicts anything that's stated there, let's see it so that we can all judge its reliability and consistency with facts that are already known and well documented. Trump routinely inflames his voters with false statements that could easily lead to violence. That's part of his way to energize his base. I discussed that problem in a prior video that I have linked in the More section below. Some recent examples since I last posted that video, and this is just a few of them, include a recent statement made by Trump through a campaign email that he was tortured when he was booked in the Atlanta criminal case. Other recent examples include his knowingly false statement that the FBI was out to murder him when conducting a lawful search at Mar-a-Lago, and that Judge Mershon in the New York criminal case wants to sentence him to death at the upcoming sentencing hearing. These kind of deliberately inflammatory and knowingly false statements work on the intended audience just as they have, as this kind of demagoguery has worked for other authoritarians throughout history. Trump has studied the speeches of one of those, according to his first wife. One Trump speech that has resulted in a criminal charge occurred on the January 6th when Trump inflamed a mob of his true believers who were already angry and believed his contention that the election was stolen from him. And then, after riling them up and knowing that many of them were armed and certainly angry, sent them to the nation's capital, which could have only resulted in violence as the reasonably predicted outcome when he made that decision to send them there. And without question, Trump knew that Congress was in session and counting the Electoral College votes certified by the states, the last step to formalize, and it was a formality, Biden's victory, and he knew that when he sent the armed and angry mob to the nation's capital. Trump and his fake news media personalities and outlets have created an alternate reality that is now and has been routinely accepted by his supporters with no effort made to verify accuracy, that the victims of the January 6th attack on the nation's capital that was intended to prevent the peaceful transfer of power were the attackers, who he has called, quote, hostages, end quote, and, quote, unbelievable patriots, end quote. He has repeatedly lionized them, as one would expect him to do, since he sent them there on a warpath. When characterizing those who stormed the Capitol that day as patriots and those who have been charged and sentenced of crimes as hostages, Trump has in fact endorsed what happened that day. That is in effect what he has done. Over 1,400 persons have been arrested and charged in connection with January 6th, with 800 of them pleading guilty to criminal charges. Of those charged, 127 people were accused of using deadly or dangerous weapons or causing serious bodily injury to police officers. Trump has said that he will pardon them, except for maybe a couple of rioters who might have gotten out of hand that day. He hasn't said which ones may not be pardoned by him. Even the video evidence of the Republican attack, which we've viewed, is dismissed as edited to create a false impression of what actually happened that day. And in Trump world, if there was any violence, the Trumpsters tell us that it was Antifa, or people hired by the deep state, or FBI informants, who egged the crowd on to make Trump look bad. And all of those people who had been charged and convicted or pled guilty to crimes have, for some reason, remained silent about the deep state involvement in the January 6th, notwithstanding their incarceration, loss of job, financial cost of hiring lawyers, which you would think that they would have been singing like a canary if they were in fact part of an FBI conspiracy to make Trump look bad. Even when those have pled guilty or have been convicted of crimes connected with the Republican insurrection have a long history, and this is true for all or almost all of them, of being Trump supporters over several years prior to the attack, attending Trump rallies, having multiple social media posts confirming their cult member status, and wearing Trump hats and other articles of clothing prior to the insurrection with Trump's name on them. For, in their opinion, that is like part of some deep state conspiracy that was planned years in advance. No proof, of course, is actually required that would be admissible in a court of law to make these kind of outlandish and ridiculous assertions, and that is just the way it is now. Trump supporters have gone so far down the alternate reality rabbit hole that there is nothing that can be done about it anymore. Their minds cannot be changed. It is futile to even try. The only option available to us, including conservatives, and I view myself as one of those, is to vote against Trump in the upcoming election and all of his political supporters down ballot in this election and in every election hereafter for as long as it takes.